I was trying to not have you unmuted while I like jostled the camera around, but I think we're gonna have to do it this way. Okay. Sorry. So today is Wednesday, obviously. I was at Fancy, like virtual Fancy, which is Food Nutrition Conference and Expo put on by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. I attended last year. It was my first year. This year I attended, and I basically just have been doing that for the last 3-4 days. So I didn't play anything for this stream. I'm not going to get into like my thoughts on Fancy. I might put together a little video about it at some point, but I guess all I'll say about it is that it wasn't as good as last year, and there's room for improvements. And I probably won't attend next year. But as far as studio stuff goes, I was already out here this morning. I'm trying my hardest, I'm trying to improve myself by actually committing to morning daily practice and coming out to my studio and actually like spending time out here to create something, even if it's small. And that's part of why I started doing Sketchtember and Inktober. I did Sketchtember in, I think, 2018 or something, and I don't know if I have this. Yes, I do have that sketchbook out here. Let me see. What year did I do that? It was 2018. No, it's 2019. And I just did these little squares. I think I've shown these on stream before, but I just did a square a day. And I think I may have cheated and done a couple in a day, but I didn't date them. I just dated them the month and the year, so that's not really helpful. So I don't know if I did one every day, but anyway, I don't know, I've just personal struggles with getting up in the morning and then coming out to the garage, but since I've started my business, I've had a bad habit of waking up, coming downstairs, making tea, and plopping myself down at the computer and starting to like look through emails, look through social media, plan out my day, and like get right into work instead of giving myself a little bit of like wake up time or like mental exercise time. So I don't know how many days I've accomplished it. Maybe like 2 days now. I've been able to convince myself to come out to the garage with my tea and just sit out here and work instead of going in there and sitting at the computer immediately. I don't know. I find it hard to not work on my business, and I know like my business coach has told me don't burn yourself out and like make sure you make time for breaks and that sort of thing. And it's hard because when being an artist is your passion and also your job, it's really hard to like do it, separate, do one for fun and not for content. And I have been finding like with these leaves for my Inktober thing, I've been like wanting to like film it or do something content wise. I'm like, oh, how can I turn this into content instead of just doing it for the enjoyment of doing it? And so today I did that. I just came out here. I thought about like, oh, should I film this? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna film it. It's not gonna be for content. It's just gonna be for me. But then of course I'm on here. I'm turning it into content in a way. But that wasn't the intention while I was working on it. It wasn't to like stop every 5 seconds to film and like change the angle and think about that sort of thing. So I'm just cleaning up. I did it in ink, and so I'm just cleaning up the pencil marks real quick, and then I'll show you. So this one I just did, I don't know where I am in there, but it is just a line drawing of a clematis leaf with all the veins. I did a little bit more detail. I think my very first leaf, I did a very was the camellia bush leaf. It was very light detail as far as veins, so I just wanted to do similar technique but a little bit more detailed. And then yesterday was just like a super lazy drawing day, or like inking day. I did a, I can't remember the name of it, I'm like blanking. Like a drawing that you do when you look at the object and you don't look at what you're drawing. So I did that, and so this is a tomato leaf. Can't you tell? And then this was the other day. I printed, well, I disassembled, I don't know what you would call it, but I took apart a strawberry leaf, because they come in like a series, like a chunk, cluster, whatever you would call it, cluster of 3 leaves. So I took that apart and took the stem off of it and printed in black ink the leaf, and then went back in with watercolor to just add some color to it. And then I think I've already talked about the other ones, so you're caught up on my Inktober. And I do have to come back to this one, which you should recognize from streams past. I want to put something in the center, but I haven't decided what I want to do, or if I just want to like keep going until it's filled up. So yeah, that's my Inktober nonsense. But yeah, I enjoy it because I have enjoyed coming out here in the morning and just doing that, just half an hour or hour, however long I end up doing. I didn't keep track. It was like a half an hour. And just coming out here, drinking my tea, and just focusing on just a little tiny project, just something small. And I'd like to commit to doing that every day. So, I don't know. Hopefully I can keep up that habit. It's just really hard to convince myself to come out here, especially when it's cold. I know I have the heater, but it's like when you wake up in the morning on the weekend and the room is cold and you don't want to get out of bed because the blanket's so warm. It's like that. It's like, I don't want to come out. I'd rather stay inside in the office where it's nice and cozy warm and tinker around on the computer. Let's see, what else? I have not worked on the egg tempera painting at all since Friday. My plan is to pick up on that on Friday and work on it a little bit more, because I was undecided of like, okay, this is like I think I was on stream for like 2.5 hours. So it was like a 2.5 hour study of, my garden basically. But it doesn't feel finished to me, and that's I feel the need to put like detail into things, but I don't know, I just think that there's like certain elements that would add a little bit more character to the piece, and because it was a white gessoed background, like whitewash background, it doesn't look good having all that white show through. So I'd like to go in with a little bit more color and finish it out, and add a little bit more depth to it, because it just looks like a big blob of a fence. And I can show you, even though you've seen it, but so like I just feel like there could be more shading in the garden bed, more shading in here, more shading to the fence line, because I know it gets like super dark over here and it's kind of like a little bit lighter up in here. Add a little bit more depth to the trees, and obviously the grass is I'm 12 and painted this in art class kind of look to it with all that white showing through. So that is what I'm planning for Friday. For today, like I said, I've been at this like virtual conference for 4 days, and didn't have a plan for today. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about I don't even know if I want to talk about it, but my continuing education planner is basically this PDF bundle that I put together as a tool for myself, but I thought it would be useful for other people, so I put it up on my website to sell. It seemed like a useful product. I've had a few sales, and I'm interested to hear what other people think about it. Basically, it's intended because as a dietitian we have, and many other professions have this, you have continuing education that you have to do year after year to like submit that you've continued learning past, you know, your degree, because you have to keep up on new research studies, new changes to things, and they have, for us, we have at least one, I feel like there should be more, but 1 credit of ethics training, which I feel like I've gotten multiple ethics continuing education units already, and I'm only in my 2nd year, so I don't know, I just think it's weird that they only require 1. But anyway, I guess I can show you some of the pages that I created, and one of them I have not released yet because I was kind of testing it out at Fancy. It's basically a modified version of the notes page that I already created. So let me pull out one of those. I don't know if I have any blank ones. I don't think I do. Oh wait, I do. Hey. And it's funny, at the event we had a keynote speaker, Jim Quick, which I think I've heard of him before, but I wasn't super familiar with him, and I'm following now on Instagram because I feel like he is, you know how when you can tell people are like, these are my people? Like, I feel like he's the sort of person that I want to have in my feed, basically. But in his talk, he encouraged us, if we're taking notes, to split your paper down the middle, have 1 side for notes and 1 side for like questions and reflections and that sort of thing. Kind of like Cornell notes, I think is what they're called, where it's like split into 2 sections, and then the bottom has like a section for questions or whatever. And so I designed this planner page for note-taking. It's got a big section for taking notes, and then a side section for writing questions. You can write down questions like before you get to the session. Like, let's say you know that you're going to have some sort of training that gives continuing education credit. You can write down questions that you have initially going into it, or you can write down questions after that you want to look up that kind of came out of the session. And then below that, there's a little section for reflections. So when we submit our continuing education credits, we have to do it kind of manually through this online, why can I not think of the word? Also, it kind of looks like there's something on my camera. Maybe not. Okay. We have to submit it online, and it requires like the information at the top that I put here. So you have the date of the activity, the title of the activity, how many units it provides, performance indicators / learning codes, which is this whole like, I don't need to get into that because if you're a dietitian, you know. If you're not a dietitian, you don't care. The activity provider, what type of activity it was, because we can only have so many of like live learnings versus articles that you've read or some science posters. There's a certain number of those that you can have of each, but there are some that you can have like unlimited. I just don't remember which ones those are. But anyway, you submit it online, and at the end it asks you a couple questions, one of which is I don't know the exact phrasing of the question, but it's something along the lines of how has this impacted you in your current position, and how would you apply this to your current position, something like that. So that's why I had this little section down here that I mentioned like 5 minutes ago before I just rambled on for way too long. This little section to, after the session is complete, you can kind of sit there and like reflect like, okay, I got this out of it, and this is how I would apply it to my current position. And then obviously you have this whole section for notes. I like to write down all my notes, and then go through and highlight some key things that I really want to come back to if I, come back to this page. And the reason why I like this format, and again, Jim Quick mentioned in his talk, is that we retain a lot more information when we handwrite it. So that was kind of my thought process behind this note-taking page. And I don't know if I fully articulated that thought, because I tend to ramble, but so, okay. I'm gonna take a minute. I'm like on it. Okay. So yeah, that was the thought behind this page. And I have this on my website, like I said. It's long form, it's got a lot of room for notes, it's two-sided. So one side it has the thing at the top for, I don't know if there's any light showing through, but for the information, and then the back is just full notes and questions and reflections. And then I created a shortened version of this so that way you can fit basically 2 activities on the front page. So I feel like you can probably envision what that looks like. But yeah, I created this for myself, like I said, because with our continuing education, maybe I'm taking it too seriously, but I just feel like if I'm studying things for my profession, I don't want to just like tick boxes and say, yeah, I did 75 continuing education credits over this 5-year cycle, and they were in this and this, and I don't really care. I don't want to do things unless, because in a lot of cases you have to pay for continuing education credits. I don't want to say a lot of cases. In many cases you have to pay for the continuing education credit. And if I'm paying for continuing education, I want it to be something that I am wanting to study. And so that's why I want to have this binder of my continuing education, of my notes, so that way I have this like reference of all the things that I learned, and I can come back to and study from and look at and reference later, if need be. So that's that. There are 10 pages in the planner now, and I don't think I have all of them in my binder now because I just released a couple new ones and I have not filled them out yet because I'm slow at getting things done. I just have a lot going on, and that's a problem. So another page that I have, and I still have to fill this out because I just completed Fancy, and I got, I want to say 11 continuing education credits, so, or units, whatever you want to call them. And so I have this little tracker, so it kind of like creates a little game, or I don't know. It's not really a game. It's more of just like a tracker. Like some people find trackers as like a satisfying thing to fill out, or just to kind of give you motivation, like I've come this far, or I've only got this much left, and that sort of thing. So like I said, we have ethics, we have like these different spheres. We have core spheres and we have functional spheres. And so we create a learning plan, and we can change that learning plan. It's very like whatever you want to do, but you just have to continue learning and document that you're continuing to learn. It seems very thrown together. Like I know there's a lot of like planning and intent and design to it, to like the dietetics continuing education process, but it just seems like chaotic. But anyway, we have ethics, communications, leadership and advocacy, critical thinking and decision making, informatics, on and on and on. And so I just color coded mine that way, and then I fill them in up here. And honestly, I don't love these colors. Like I've been using a lot of leadership and advocacy and ethics, and I don't know, the colors just look absolutely horrible. I feel like I could have picked a better color scheme, but that's not important. So I have my tracker, and I'm going to fill this out as I enter my, credits from Fancy into my log, and then I'll track it here because it's just fun to have a sheet to track it on. And then down here I have resources and recommendations. So I just figure if there's, I don't know, I'm kind of up in the air about whether I'll keep this if I update this planner page. Because if I have somebody tell me about a resource or a recommendation, I'm probably going to like bookmark it on my browser and not necessarily write it down. But I just figure if in the, like, let's just say you're at your clinical job and your facility offers some sort of training that is going to provide you with continuing education credits, and you're sitting in the thing waiting for it to start, and you're talking to your coworkers and your colleagues, and they're like, oh yeah, I just read this book, or I just saw this webinar on, new tube feeding techniques or something, I don't know. You could write down that presentation that they were talking about, and you can go look it up later. I don't know. It was really, I don't know. That was my logic behind it. Whether or not it will be utilized, I don't know. So another page in the planner is goals page. So it's kind of like a little worksheet, and I just kind of jotted down my goals that I wanted to accomplish within my dietetics career for my first year, and then jotted down for my second year. Haven't started my third year yet, so I haven't done that. And then down here it is long-term goals to accomplish over my 5-year cycle. So like in 5 years, what do I want to have accomplished? So they're kind of like a little bit longer term, bigger goals, as opposed to like bullet lists of like I need to do da 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 this year. And then longer term goals, dreams and aspirations, and I haven't written anything down here. I'm like, I don't know, big hairy goals, basically, like huge things that you really want to accomplish over your like lifetime or over your career. And that was my, like, you put it out into the universe and make it happen. So I guess I don't really fully know how to articulate what my goals are. I just kind of have abstract, vague ideas of what they are, and that's why I haven't filled that out yet. Or I'm afraid to put it out in the universe, because if it doesn't happen, but it won't happen if you don't put it out there. Okay, we're going to do this right now. My long-term plans, goals, dreams, and aspirations for my career in dietetics. I want So the reason I'm hesitant to like say this is because I feel like it sounds dumb. So there's this, I watch a lot of like YouTube and not a ton of Twitch, but I do watch some Twitch streamers, and I just really like that they build this massive audience and people trust them, they like them, and they want to know what's happening with them. And I don't like the idea of calling, like, what I want to accomplish is like an influencer, because I feel like that has a negative connotation, because it has a negative connotation because of shitty ass influencers out there. But I do want to, in a vague sense, amass a large following so that I can create like a positive sort of community and like influence change. I want to be an influencer. All right, I'm just gonna write that down, but not influencer. I'm gonna write, I want to amass, I don't know how to spell amass, is it just A-M-A-S-S? I don't know. Amass a large following online. What is large to me? That's what she said. Large following online of more than 1 million, because I feel like it's more common now for people to have 1 million subscribers. Like for example, on YouTube, more people are able to do that. So I'm just gonna say more than 1 million, and whatever. If I hit 1 million, awesome. If not, oh well. At least I'm putting it out there. A large following online of more than 1 million. And create a positive, uplifting, encouraging community. That's a big goal. I think longer term goals, I'd also like to, I don't know if I want to write a book or illustrate a book, but do something as far as like creating a book, and not for someone else. Like I want to create one for myself. Create/write a book. But anyway, you get the idea. So this is a goals worksheet. It kind of helps you calibrate and think about your shorter term goals of like, what do I want to accomplish over the next year, and you know, it breaks it down for each year. What do I want to accomplish over this 5-year cycle? Because I sell the planner as PDF bundle, so you can print as many or as few copies of each page that you need, but you have it for your lifetime because you obviously bought PDFs, so you can print them out however often you want. And then when I'm done with my first 5-year cycle, this is my year, or my cycle 1 binder. So it'll be all my continuing education, all my goals, and blah 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 from my first cycle. And then I'll create a new binder for my next cycle. And then I can always come back to it and see like what were my goals then and how far I've come, and it's just like a good reflection sort of thing to keep momentum going and keep I'm terrible at explaining things. This is why I'm like just a bad salesman of my own things. What else? I have this here. This is the most fun page. I colored it in. It's normally not all colorful. But it's just a set of 5 bookshelves. They each have their own label, and there's like little icons, graphics, whatever you want to call them, that you can color in. And then on the spines of the books, you can write the title of the book. And so I have books that I've read that I've colored in, and I just match them with the label, but you can color it in however you want, or not color it in, whatever. And then all the ones that are not colored in yet are books that I've like seen, you know, other dietitians or people that I follow on Instagram or people have recommended to me. I write them down on their respective shelf, and then they're kind of like my to-read list. Several on my to-read list currently. And I am a slow reader, so I am really interested in looking into Jim Quick's tips on becoming a faster reader, because I know he said that he was going to do that in his presentation, but they ran out of time, and so he didn't get a chance to share that. So that's why I'm like, I gotta follow you, because I need some tips on how to be a faster reader, because I am slow as hell. Okay, what else do we have? So if you're familiar with bullet journaling, this is a kind of a tracker similar to Year in Pixels. It is basically Year in Pixels. I called it Year in Atoms, and I have not filled this out really at all for 2021. I did this in a couple journals, and I just found it like tedious for me, because I just didn't have a strict schedule of like a time that I'd come back and fill it in every day. And so I fall behind, and then I have to like think back, like what was Tuesday like? Was that a good day or a bad day? And I did it based on my mood, so, or like how productive I was. So I have this labeled for good / unproductive, decent, so not great, bad / unproductive. And I think on my very first one I wrote, I did like the bad unproductive was sick, so I could look back and be like, oh, I was sick this many times. You know, like you get a cold or something or whatever, so it's just funny to like look back, and because I don't really track that sort of thing, like when I get colds, which I haven't gotten a cold in more than a year and a half, so yay for that. It's the one plus side to quarantine. That and wearing masks, which honestly I'm probably gonna do a lot more moving forward. Like, I know everybody's like, oh, I don't want to have to wear masks in public anymore. I'm like, I kind of don't mind it because I'm not getting sick, and I tend to be one of those people who inadvertently spits when they talk, and so it's probably better that I wear a mask because I'm not spreading whatever crud I have. So I don't know if I fully explained this. So year in atoms, basically I made, you know, sometimes people just draw the 365 days as just a grid. I did circles, and I'm calling them atoms even though they're basically like pixels, and I know people have done circles before. It was just kind of like a science-y branding name. And then you've got your key on the side, so you, I didn't use these last two bubbles, but you can use as many as you need or add more at the bottom. And yeah, you can use the key for a lot of things. I used that one for the first month of 2021 and then didn't use it at all. I don't know, I just don't find it productive to track my mood. If anything, it's just like an annoyance of having to do that, but I have found it useful for tracking my workouts, so let me get that real quick. So I'm like, what weird notes do I have on here? For me, I hate structured exercise. I've always hated the idea of like being in a room and just picking things up and putting them back down again. It's one of the reasons why I think I've said this before, so sorry if this is redundant, but it's why I liked working at Amazon, because I basically got paid to work out. But since quarantine and since I don't work at Amazon anymore, I need to do that structured exercise time, and I reward myself by watching stupid shit on my iPad while I work out. But anyway, this I've been more consistent with, and I take weekends off. I've mostly been focusing for myself on consistency over, you know, it's more about building the habit than it is about being, I don't know, like I'm not training for Ironman or a marathon or anything like that. I just bike into the corner for, you know, 15 to 25 minutes, and it's mostly about showing up and doing it every day. Because for me, as a 32-year-old lady who doesn't like to exercise in that way, for me it's more about just showing up and doing it because I need to build the habit. So yeah, that's one possible use for year in atoms. And what other pages do I have? Okay. This one is fun. I use this one. This is my mind map template, and I use it for planning out blog posts. So I'll write like a working title in the center, and then up above that I'll write out who my target audience is, so I'm reminded of like who am I writing my blog to. And then I move into what I usually do there. What do I usually do there? I think like I start to outline my intro, like what my key points will be, and then I start to like break down like first point, second point, third point, conclusion, maybe like an additional thing, and then a call to action. So like, what do I want them to do at the end of the article? Like, do I want to ask them to go check out this other resource? Do I want them to download this freebie or whatever? So that's what I use the mind map for. Obviously, if you're, you know, writing a paper or thinking about an outline for a podcast, or because it's part of the continuing education planner, if you're taking something that you learned from, you know, whatever thing that you sat through and learned from, and you're translating that into something that, you know, you learned it here, you went to this training, and you're going to disseminate it to the people on your staff, you can kind of start to lay out your main points of what you got from that and put it into a presentation. So mind map is just kind of like a tool for plotting out your idea. What else does the planner have? Because I'm still developing the planner, my notebook is very unorganized, because I test out pages and test out papers to see, like, when I first started printing it out, I was using this like really stiff heavyweight, like what do you call it, like, oh my god, I'm blanking, I don't know, so, like a really heavyweight paper. And I've moved into a much like smoother, I think it's Hammermill, like a 32-pound paper. I don't know that much about paper weights, but it's heavier than like your shitty run-of-the-mill printer paper, but it's not so heavy. Cardstock, that's what this was. This was cardstock, and it was just like, that's a little too much. And I don't have any more planner pages out here, and I guess I can show you this. It's not that unique. And I'm not sure when I'm going to release this, because I just released 2 new pages, but this, and I've used this one obviously, so it's got writing on it, because I used it for Fancy, but it's basically the note sheet, but you can fit 2 on a page, so, you know, 2 on each page. And so I fit 4 per. And this one's blank because I missed that one live, and I gotta go back and watch that one. And the reason I did this is because last Fancy, I spent way too much time taking notes, and it was just like, why am I doing this? Or I'd show up to one, and I really didn't take that many notes, and it was silly to have an entire front and back sheet for something that I took, you know, like 3 lines of notes on. So I wanted to experiment this year with being more concise in my note taking and only writing down important points, and then drawing a blank while I talk, because that's me. Me being more concise, and then I don't know, why am I like this? I completely lose my what the hell I was saying. We need more coffee. It keeps it more condensed. I don't know what I was gonna say. It keeps it more condensed, and you don't waste all that paper, and I need to be more concise. I think that's what I was generally gonna say. So yeah, like I said, I haven't released that variation of the learning activity sheet yet. My plan for the planner is to update it once a quarter, and so I just released 2 new pages, which I don't have out here, I apologize, but you can see them on my website. But I want to release new pages, or like updated versions of the pages, every quarter, and I just released the latest 2 in September. So in theory, I've got a couple months before I need to release, but I might release this sooner just because, like, I have it and it functions and I liked it, so why not throw out a bonus one? But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about it today, and my plan was to continue coloring this because I haven't finished. But if you happen to be interested in the planner, it is available on my website to purchase as a bundle, and if you do purchase the bundle, you will receive updates for as long as I keep the planner going. So like over, let's say I keep this going for the next like 5 years. I don't know how long I'm gonna keep doing it for, but anytime I come out with a new page or an updated version of the page, you will receive that page at no additional cost. So once you buy it, that's all you pay, and you will receive the new pages when they come out. And then you bought it, so you can print however many copies you want, so you can use this for your entire lifetime. If you know, like I said, I plan on having this be like my first cycle binder, and then when I move on to my next cycle, I'll start a fresh binder with all new fresh pages and start my goals over for the next 5 years. And it's basically like thinking about your education in 5-year chunks. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. I'm bad at selling my things. So you know, if you want it, it's up there. If you don't want it, that's fine. And it is like, I know some of the pages, like the book page, I know I've had a couple people ask about it. You can get it now as it's, you know, as itself. You don't have to buy it as part of the bundle. But you don't receive like updated versions of it. It's just kind of like a one and done purchase. So that's the only downside to getting the individual pages, especially if you end up buying all of them. So it's like, you should have just got them all. I think if somebody ended up buying all of them, I would just say like, yeah, let me refund you the difference, and then like I'll send you the updated pages, because I'm like, if you went through and end up liking all of them, then that makes sense to me. But anyway, I am going to color this for the rest of our time, which I don't even know how long I've been yammering on for. Like 40 minutes, so that's fun for you. I'm so sorry. So let's tilt you down and you can look at this and just watch me color in silence, because I'm gonna mute and I've talked enough. Okay, bye. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip you around. All right, hopefully that's upright. So I went a little over on time, kind of got carried away with that, and it's not done, but it wasn't done when I worked on it the first time. So I will see you on Friday. I'm going to be, I don't know why I'm making all the noise right now. I can easily clean this up after I'm done, but no, I have to do it right now. I'm kind of stalling because my stream is delayed and I want to make sure this is on me proper. So yeah, I kind of got carried away with the zigzag. I didn't know where I was going with it, but it just kind of turned into that three-dimensional sort of shape, and then I started imagining like printer ink, the way it comes out in dots, and decided to play around with some color to try to get some shading just using dots. So that's what that nonsense was. But yeah, I just wanted to tinker around a little bit with that cover since I haven't touched it in a while, and it was definitely not finished. I wanted a lot more color on it. Honestly, it's not the prettiest looking thing, and if I were to do it over, I'd want to do something a little bit more like cohesive, but this is the first of many years of continuing education, so future ones will look better, and I can look back on this one as like the sketch before the masterpiece, and also it's just a cover, so it doesn't really matter. But I will be back on Friday. I'm going to pick up on that egg tempera painting, and I don't know how long of a stream I'll do. I know last week I went for 2.5 hours, which is a little bit long for me, but for good reason. And yeah, so I got nothing else to say. I will see you Friday, and have a good week until then. Bye!